It is that time of year. Kids are heading to proms and dances and end-of-year events. And while it is a great and memorable time, kids have got to be aware of the chances that they are taking, and tragedy can strike at any time. Take a look at this.
Jordan was the most lovable human being that I ever encountered. Although he had become a man, he was still my little boy. I would kiss him goodnight every single night. He was 18 years old, and around, I guess it was 4:20 in the afternoon, 4:25, we called him on his cell phone. The next thing I know, the phone went dead. My first thought was his battery ran out. About 15, 20 minutes later or so, the doorbell rang. I saw a police officer standing there. He said, "Do you own a Hyundai?" I said, "Is my son okay?" We got to the hospital about 5 minutes later. And the doctor came. She said, "Mr. Sibley, can we go somewhere and talk?" I said, "Look, please, I just need to know. Is my son alive?" It's a yes or no question. She said, "No, your son died."
Oh, in that case, it was a distracted driving incident that ended in, as you just heard, in death, sadly. Joining us now to spread the safety message is Bob Ragazzo, a certified defensive driving instructor. And Bob, as hard as it is to watch that, it's so important to be reminded, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an ironic thing, but it happens every day.
And the young man we were hearing about in that video, he had dropped the phone?
Yeah, actually his dad called him.
Right.
And that's part of the problem. And as he was talking, he dropped the phone, instinct.
Reached down to get it.
So, you know, we try to work on those habits that, you know, you drop something, leave it.
That's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know,
absolutely.
we hear it all the time. Don't text and drive. They have it written on the highways and the freeways everywhere. I see it all
every day.
The time.
Yes.
But
yes.
it's more than just texting and driving. There's just so much more to this.
Absolutely. You know, for teenagers, the texting or the cell phone is now the #1 distraction, cause of crashes. But for drivers overall, it's only #3. It's growing fast, though. It's really becoming an epidemic. Ray LaHood, the outgoing Secretary of Transportation in the U.S., is a strong proponent of putting away the cell phone. He just talks about it as the epidemic on our roadways. So what we do is, again, the phone is always calling for attention. So what you're doing is, as you get in the phone, we tell young drivers and drivers of all ages, put it away.
Right.
Are there laws being written in some states to try to ban the use of phones in any way in cars, except for maybe Bluetooth?
That is a very tricky thing because, you know, you're not allowed to block the cell transmissions. That's kind of a federal law. But what we need to do is make it socially unacceptable.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to. You can condition, you really can't litigate this problem away. You know, you've got to condition people. People are conditioned to use their seatbelt, and we get very high compliance. But the phone is always asking for attention, right? The phone is crying out for attention, and what you want to do is just make it socially unacceptable.
Right.
Okay.
Well, kids spend 44% more time in cars in the summertime, and a big problem is there's one person driving and all the kids pile into that one car.
Yeah, you hit a couple of good ones there. Yeah, there's basically 5 things that contribute to this big spike, because during the summer we lose 1,000 teenagers, and it happens pretty regularly. And it's not just the drivers, it's the passengers as well.
Right.
So we have to always tell kids, you know, be careful who you get in the car with as well. But, you know, the time in the car needs to be limited because they spend 40% more time. The piling in, okay, which is
and piling in with alcohol, inevitably.
Big distraction. And then the drinking and driving. One of the hopeful things is many of the kids understand now that you pick a designated driver. So it's becoming more socially unacceptable to drink and drive. And that's very hopeful sign.
Yeah, that is a hopeful sign.
And if kids feel drowsy at all, they can't just power through it. Pull over or call somebody or just stop.
Absolutely. Summertime, you know, longer trips, they're going out, they're doing whatever, later curfews, and it equals more crashes.
And Bob, this goes for just, as you said, people of all ages. I mean, we need to remind our kids this time of year, but it's good for all of us to.
Absolutely.
And we have to set an example as adults.
That's right. That's right.
We use an acronym called SAGE, set a good example, because we are teaching the kids the wrong way, and they learn actually as toddlers. So even you know what you don't understand is the kids see your habits and they tend to pick those up.
Bob Ragazzo,
Bob, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back with more Daytime right after this.